Oh, it's just me today to talk about fiber lasers, among other things. The first one is I'll say a little bit about the big news, which is OpenAI, of course. It is amazing. And by the way, if anybody is watching my stuff and they're not also listening to the Pivot podcast, you're doing the wrong thing. One conclusion of this is that Kara Swisher really is the best tech reporter in Silicon Valley by far, the most influential, the most important. And she had the inside scoop here. She has such access. She actually got an interview with the CEO of Microsoft yesterday or today, explaining what's going on. So you should totally be listening to Pivot if you care about Silicon Valley and tech companies. Anyway, so OpenAI over the weekend, I guess on Friday, decided to push out their CEO, Sam Altman, who's extremely popular, and this led to a giant revolt. So where more than 500 of their 700 employees have signed on to an open letter saying this is a terrible idea. They want to work for him. They want to bring him back or they want to leave. And Satya Nadella said, there's room for all of you at Microsoft. Just come over to Microsoft. And it's not over yet, but it appears that the end result of this is that Microsoft is going to acquire the most valuable AI company in the world for free, because the lunatic board of governance just chose to burn down their own company and everybody just jumped ship and moved over to Microsoft and they didn't have to buy it. So maybe something will change, but that's amazing. And something else Kara said is that Sam Altman is a strong contender for the heir apparent to become CEO of Microsoft after this, which is a little shocking, but not all that shocking, because this is the most important new technology, and the CEO of Microsoft has been there a long time and is, I guess, approaching retirement age. So anyway, it's madness. And by the way, if you don't think the board is crazy, you can just look at what they've done. Their chief scientist has been making spiritual claims. There's an amazing article on Futurism talking about what he did. I picture this guy. This is what I thought. As soon as a student showed me caused me to look up the mission statement of OpenAI, it's an insane company. Their mission statement is to not make their own product. They're afraid of their own product. They seriously think they're going to have general AI that's going to be the Terminator and kill us all. And their mission is to prevent that, which I think is all complete garbage. And I'm really glad that they're going to be overseen by somebody like Microsoft that has real business people that live on Earth that will say, how about you stop talking nonsense and talk about what products you're going to roll out and how much they're going to cost and how we're going to make money and who's going to be in charge of departments and real world things like that, instead of spinning fairy tales about some artificial general intelligence that is not going to happen. And so this Ilya Sutskever is the guy that apparently was the force about pushing Sam Altman out. And now that it didn't work, he's trying to backtrack and pretend he wasn't the force. But he's completely crazy. I mean, he sees himself as a spiritual leader of the company, and it's all about their efforts to realize artificial general intelligence. So it'll be godlike power, this complete nonsense. And they had to chant "Feel the AGI," and they had to burn a wooden effigy to represent an unaligned AI that works against the best interests of humanity. So it really is like a religious cult, and they have chosen to destroy an important company here for no reason at all. So hopefully, now Sam Altman had to play along with this AGI stuff somewhat. Hopefully he can grow up and knock it off. Unless anybody thinks that's real. I don't think that's real at all. That's science fiction. Anyway, so that madness goes on, but I really think Microsoft is a great company to rein in the craziness and get them back to just being a normal corporation where you make money and make products and stuff like that, and you pay attention to the real world instead of dreaming nonsense. So that'll be good. Elon Musk, I'm very pleased to see finally some pushback on him. Now, whenever I say Elon Musk might get his comeuppance, many people have been sorry. He's just like Donald Trump. He can get away with anything. He can shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and his supporters won't care. And that might be true of Elon Musk, but I think not. I think Elon Musk doesn't have enough entertainment value. We'll see. But anyway, Apple pulled ads from X. Many other companies like IBM, many others pulled their ads from Twitter/X because of his promoting anti-Semitic stuff, which he totally has been doing. And he has now also boosted the Pizzagate theory, coming back from the 2016 election. Somebody tried to associate Media Matters with Pizzagate, and Elon Musk thinks that's interesting, so he's promoting that now. And he did threaten to sue Media Matters, which is the company that exposed how IBM and other companies have their ads right next to pro-Hitler Nazi commentary promoted by. And so anyway, he did have a lawsuit against them quite a bit later than he said he would, which I think comes from the fact that, again, just like Donald Trump, he will declare, you must sue these people. And when he actually talks to a real lawyer, they will say, well, you can't sue them. I mean, you can't possibly win because their accusations against you are true. Now, for a while, he tried to say, oh, they just use Photoshop or something to make these fake appearances of these Nazi tweets appearing next to ads. But apparently they abandoned that quickly because they realized it's absolutely true that those things do happen. And therefore, I don't think I think in America, truth is a complete defense against libel. You can't sue somebody for accusing you of something if it's true. I mean, you can't win. So I guess, like Donald Trump, he took him a little while to shop through lawyers until he found some lawyer crazy enough to push a useless theory that's going nowhere. And this is how Trump gets his lawyers disbarred. Maybe Elon Musk would be entertained by getting his lawyers disbarred too. I don't know. But it is madness. But I was really glad to see Tesla investors are actually beginning to turn to the Tesla board to try to rein in Musk. Tesla's stock has been falling. It's been held up only by Elon Musk's fame, and he is increasingly a negative figure. Many people hate his guts and want to have nothing to do with him, like the whole information security community left Twitter. Many journalists are leaving Twitter. Many people are just selling their Teslas. I've heard people just want to have nothing to do with this guy. I certainly don't want to have anything to do with this guy. And the Tesla price is falling. And so they're actually trying to get the board of Tesla to do their job, which is to understand that they have a fiduciary duty to the investors. And if the CEO has become a liability, they can control him, limit his actions, or push him out, like the OpenAI board did to Sam Altman, although apparently for no sensible reason. So unfortunately, the board consists of absolute Musk fanboys like his own brother and stuff like that. So there's no hope in the short run of them actually doing that. But in the long run, the investors of Tesla do have the legal right to be represented by a board that represents their interest. And I suppose at the moment, the calculation will be that Elon Musk continues to produce more value than he destroys. But he's clearly completely uncontrollable. I mean, if you could get him to grow up and stop saying insane things, that might be nice, but he's made it clear he has no interest in that. They said, even if you lose all his money on Twitter, even if the things you say on Twitter harm your company, he said, well, I don't care. I've got the money. I want to say what I have to say. So the champion of free speech continues to spend a lot of his energy trying to suppress the free speech of his critics. That's where he is. Anyway, that will go on. And Binance and CZ, the CEO of Binance, is a huge lawsuit coming. The Department of Justice wants to sue them for things like money laundering and so on, and evasion of sanctions as they continue to do business in Russia after there were sanctions against them. And they have offered to drop it all for a settlement amount of $4 billion, which would be the largest punishment meted out to any cryptocurrency exchange. I think they should just go for it. I think $4 billion is nothing but a rounding error for the kind of money they have at Binance. But it may be a reasonable estimate of how much they can actually do against them. So we'll see what comes of it as the crypto market continues. It's gone out of fashion to talk about it, but crypto market continues, and I think it will come back. And Binance is the biggest company, so there may be more coming out of that. And then the thing that I decided was the title as I learned more about it. I didn't know there were fiber lasers. I used powerful lasers back decades ago, I guess back in the 80s, and they were glass lasers, a solid bar of glass doped at neodymium. So now they dope fiber optics with that, and what they end up with is a much more powerful laser. These lasers are used for cutting in industry and stuff, and now they want to use them to make high-powered laser weapons to shoot drones out of the sky. Because they say a problem with drones is they're so cheap, you can send a whole fleet of cheap drones and we'll run out of missiles if we shoot them now at missiles. we can't have enough missiles to shoot down all the drones you can afford. We need something like a laser that can make an infinite number of shots and doesn't run out of ammo to shoot down that whole swarm of drones coming in like mosquitoes. So that's very interesting. I had no idea that fiber optics could be that powerful or that it could be that collimated, that focused to go over a significant distance. But apparently all that has happened, and fiber optic lasers are the new hotness. I found an article talking about the many types of them, so that's very interesting. Laser technology has advanced while I've been wandering off doing other things. And here's something I've sort of waiting to hear happen. Oliver Dowden is the Deputy Prime Minister, and what he wants to do is to shrink the British government by replacing civil service with AI. And this reminds me of the blockchain people that wanted to have a DAO, a distributed autonomous organization, where they replace the management of a company with a program running on the blockchain. And I think in both cases, this is terrible. Remember, I thought about that briefly, and I wondered, would it be an improvement, say, at my college, which is fantastically badly managed? It was obviously the worst managed college in America for a while, and now another one has turned out to be even worse. But it was always in all the headlines of making appalling decisions and not seeming to have anybody in charge, and all the money just vanishes. And I wondered, would it be better to have a computer program run the college? And I thought that probably would not be any better. So we're going to see if he actually does this. I think especially AI. While some people are saying AI is going to change everything and we need to regulate it and it's going to put everybody out of work and we're going to have artificial general intelligence, Skynet, and the Terminator killing us all, I think that is all garbage. What I see from actually using machine learning and getting into the programming of it is that it's really not very effective. It's very error-laden. It's very unreliable. It is a prototype technology. I think what they'll find is what everybody else found that jumped into AI. When you try to actually replace a human worker with AI, you discover immediately that the AI is totally not smart enough to replace a human. It will do appalling, stupid things. It has no sense. It doesn't even understand what it's saying. And you're going to find out that you need a human supervising it. It reminds me of these supermarket checkout lanes with machines there, and you have to have a worker overseeing the machines constantly coming to override it and fix it. The machines are just not that good. They're maybe 80% effective, which means, that instead of paying for 8 checkouts people, you can have 1 checkout people overseeing 8 machines. So you can lower your overall personnel costs somewhat, but you have to have an intelligent human involved in every bit of it, because the AIs are really, really not that smart. I think they might be as smart as like chickens. I mean, they can sort of repeat, after training, they can repeat a simple reflex act over and over, but they don't have any judgment. They don't really understand what's going on, and they don't have enough intelligence to deal with any unexpected situations. So anyway, we'll see what comes of that. If he actually tries to replace the government with AI, I think it will be a disaster. And however, this one surprised me. There are these things called rogue waves. They've been in poetry and stories forever, where a ship is sailing along and suddenly this giant wave comes out of nowhere. They're a known hazard. And so what these researchers did in this article in the Messenger is they put up a buoy to measure the height of waves, and they got a ton of data, millions of waves, and they found out how often they appear. And they appear pretty often, and they even claim they can now predict them using AI. And they say they are relatively common. They got 100,000 rogue waves in their data, which was, I think, a few million. I'm not sure I can find the number of a billion. Okay, in a billion, they found 100,000. So I guess that's 1 every 10,000 waves or something. And they say, I think that means you'll see 1 per day in any location. And they say what happens is it's when 2 waves add up with constructive interference to just get higher, which seems like a very simple explanation. And anyway, now they say they can predict them, and they may be able to add this to ships and oil platforms and things like that might be affected by them. So that's interesting. And a success of AI. And there's an article on Outpost 24 with a malware analysis of a thing called Llama C2 Stealer. But I thought this was very charming, and I hope I can add it to my malware analysis class I'll be teaching next semester, because it goes through all the steps of analyzing this malware, and I recognize all the steps and all the tools. They're all covered in my course. They're just using normal tools like Ghidra and IDA Pro and other things like that, simple tools to analyze this stuff. And what they found, they go through all the steps of how it works. But the one thing that's new about it is, I wondered about this. I did a project maybe 5 or 10 years ago where I tried to sneak malware past antivirus. And what someone told me on Twitter, which was very helpful, is the way antivirus works is its ability to detect new malware. It runs it, spins it up in a sandboxed environment and analyzes what it does for a few seconds. And if it hasn't done anything bad by then, it calls it good. So all you have to do is make your malware wait a while before activating. But however, people started using things like the sleep function or something to wait a while. And so they hook the sleep function. They notice if you're using sleep function, see that as a bad sign. So what these guys do is they wait for a human to move the mouse, which is really smart, because not only does this delay the operation, it also means it won't run in typical researchers' sandboxes, automated sandboxes, which are what many people are using to analyze viruses. And to detect if a real human is moving the mouse, and it's not just a program that does mouse jiggling to keep the machine from going asleep, they have a loop that checks to make sure that they capture 5 different mouse positions within about half a second. And then they make sure that they're all pointing more or less the same direction. So it's part of a long sweeping motion across the screen. And apparently that is something that only humans do, and not the current generation of mouse jigglers. And obviously, you could write a better mouse jiggler that does a more accurate simulation of a human moving the mouse around. But, for the moment, apparently, this escapes sandboxes. And it's very interesting. And it makes me think, if I was trying to write malware to sneak it past antivirus again, which I might get back to doing that, I haven't done it in a while, this would be the thing to do. Instead of waiting for a fixed amount of time, wait until you see some human motion of some type, and then activate the malware. That seems like a very good idea. Anyway, it's a very interesting article. And the last one, I thought, another similar information security research article. The analyst1.com has an article explaining the Lockbit malware crew. They are a ransomware crew, and they've been through 3 generations, and they're getting very professional. They have affiliates that actually infect. What they do is, you have some way to get into a company, you got in there with phishing, then you contact them and prove you have access to company servers. Then they will add you to the affiliate program, and they will give you the malware to encrypt that stuff and the ransom note and everything, and let you negotiate. And they will take, I think, 20% of the money, you take 80%, or something else. It's some kind of 80-20 split. And apparently they have a good reputation. People take them seriously. And now they are getting so professional, they are standardizing the ransom payments, which have been pretty random and unpredictable. And now they've set standards. Companies with revenues up to 100 million should pay from 3 to 10% of their annual revenue for ransom. Companies up to 1 billion pay from 0.5% to 5%. And companies with revenue of more than 1 billion should pay from 0.1% to 3%. And during negotiation, you should never cut the price by more than 50%. Those are their new terms. So the ransomware industry continues to thrive. It becomes more professional, perhaps becomes more predictable. So it's amazing. We don't seem to have defenses that work at all yet. Everybody keeps getting ransomware, and everybody keeps paying, and it's just becoming a steady business. This is sort of like doing business in a company where you, in a town where there's just like the mafia in town, and you just have to pay protection money every week, and you can't possibly stay in business without it. I've heard this happens in San Francisco, but not to all businesses. Anyway, that's where we're at. And that's all I had to tell you this time. I'll have another one of these on Friday.